Before we dive in, here's another show you can enjoy in the True Story FM family of entertainment podcasts.
In a world where podcasts are a dime a dozen, one show dares to stand out from the rest.
The Film Board, a podcast unafraid to tell it like it is.
We're here for one reason and one reason only. Downloads.
That's right. We review new release movies because that's what gets people's attention.
But just because we're in it for the clicks doesn't mean we don't take our job seriously.
We're part of the Next Reel family of film podcasts, and we're proud of it.
Our reviews are just as insightful and thought-provoking as any of our other film podcasts.
It's just that this podcast is all about that sweet, sweet SEO.
The nectar squoze from the tree of Bing.
We're only human, but we're also creators.
And creators eat clicks to survive.
So if you want honest, unfiltered opinions on the very latest movies right on opening weekend,
delivered with the self-awareness of a team looking for downloads,
then tune in to The Film Board.
Where every download counts, but yours counts the most.
Ever wonder what bridges the gap between your favorite film genres, subgenres, and movements? CinemaScope is here to explore these connections, taking you on a thrilling odyssey through the ever-evolving art of cinema. I'm your host, Andy Nelson, and in each episode, we embark on a deep dive into the forces that sculpt the world of film. From the styles you know and love, like heist films or the French New Wave, to the ones you may not be as familiar with, like Turkish Yeşilçam or Brazilian Nordwesterns, my expert guests and I unravel the complex tapestry of storytelling, style, and innovation that defines the world of film as we unpack the myriad catalysts of change that shape these diverse styles. Whether you're a student of film, a creative professional, or simply a devoted movie enthusiast, CinemaScope is your gateway to a richer, more immersive film experience. Don't just watch movies, understand them, appreciate them, and revel in their artistry with CinemaScope. Subscribe today.
Coming up on The Devil's Details, Old Scratch is my father, the devil and Daniel Webster. Good morning, Star, and welcome to another episode of The Devil's Details, a show where we dig up, decipher, dissect, and deconstruct the many forms of the devil. One of my names is Lester Ryan Clark.
And I sometimes go by Keenan Diaz.
And we're just two lost souls hitchhiking down the highway to hell. We're in a new country now. We're in the land of the free and the home of the brave. The devil has come to America now.
Yeah, our devil here says he's been here the whole time.
The whole
America.
time?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I really like that speech, actually. We're definitely going to get to that. But yeah, folks, we're looking at The Devil and Daniel Webster.
So this is written by Stephen Vincent Benet as a short story that was eventually published in the Saturday Evening Post. One of Benet's other famous pieces is a long poem called John Brown's Body, which I know being set to music. Do you know that one?
No, I don't.
Well, they just set it to the Battle Hymn of the Republic, so it's easy. But it's
okay.
John Brown's body lies a moldering in the grave, spread over with the blood-stained flag. Wait, no, anyways, the first one went really well.
Yes.
For the sun to bleach. Anyways,
right. So it doesn't. So it's not set to Stars and Stripes Forever.
Everybody, stay calm, honk honk. Nothing to see here, honk honk.
I think that was in our other show. That's the code song for when there's a fire at the circus,
at the
folks.
Circus, right, just so you know.
Yeah. So actually, it would be appropriate here with the devil showing up, you know.
Right, yeah. This was released as a short story, but now everyone reads it on its own. But it was published with other pieces before,
right? Yeah.
For The Devil and Daniel Webster.
Right.
He was a Pulitzer Prize winner for poetry for John Brown's Body, though.
Okay.
And let's see, this story won the O. Henry Award, which is a short story award for any short story. I guess it doesn't have to have a twist ending like all the O. Henry ones do. But
right.
That's the twist of the awards, is they don't have to have a twist.
And the murderer was O. Henry, who was telling the story. Wait a minute, they're all apes? This is Earth?
Oh, that probably would have won if it hadn't been a French story originally.
Right, yeah.
If you don't know what we're talking about, then don't look it up. It's spoiler.
No. But apparently, something they didn't have in the movie was there's this framing device in the book where the tellers of the story are, I'm just going to say it, apes. So it's like, I'm going to tell you this story. We're going to follow this astronaut. Oh, it was Earth all along, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then, like, they close the book very Princess Bride style. It's like, gee, Mom, Monkey Mom.
Monkey
that
Mom.
was... that sure was a great story. It was like, it sure was, Monkey Son. French Monkey Son, because we're French. And, you know. Yeah. Read the book, folks. It's very different. Yeah. No
Okay,
Charlton Heston at all.
I have not read that. Stop telling him things that'll spoil the movie.
I shouldn't, yeah.
About this ape planet.
Yeah. This planet of the apes.
Maybe they don't know, yeah.
Yeah, they don't, yeah.
But anyways, yeah, this was more familiar to me than The Devil and Tom Walker, so I know this story already. And this one seems to be adapted more into other versions. So a lot of the rest of the pieces that we'll be covering in The Devil and this season, I think, well, obviously there'll be a little bit of both, but I think The Devil and Daniel Webster is going to be the one that they're more in conversation with.
I think so, too. Even the ones that I can just think of off the top of my head, Devil and Daniel Mouse, has, like, a trial of the damned at the end. And I mean, our Simpsons Treehouse of Horror episode. And isn't that called The Devil and Homer Simpson?
I'm remembering. Hold on.
It better be. If it's not, I'll be very disappointed.
I don't know. I don't know why I can't find it.
Because it literally is. I mean, it's even got the same members of the jury. Some of them.
Yeah.
Some of them.
You got Blackbeard and all that.
This chair be high, says I.
The Devil and Homer Simpson? ? The Devil and Homer Simpson.
Yeah,
yes,
of course,
that's
of
what
course.
it's called.
If they didn't, I would cancel that show immediately. It's the only title you can call that thing. But yes, okay, so yeah, we're talking about The Devil and Daniel Webster, and yeah, I do think this one, isn't that always the way though? Like, it's the second one that kind of, is the more polished, and that's the one that everyone knows, right?
Yeah, that makes sense.
And it's like, oh, did you know there was one before this that wasn't actually, it's a little bit lesser known,
Right. Yeah, like Shakespeare's Hamlet is the remake.
Exactly. All right. But yeah, okay. So we're not talking about Shakespeare. Let's get out of there. Let's jump over that trap. But no, we're talking about the Devil and Daniel Webster, whom in the story everyone calls Daniel Webster, even the narrator. So I really like that.
I was wondering about that. So yeah, in the text it's DAN''L. I was wondering, does that mean that like before, because this is written like in the 30s, where writing in dialect was popular, like
right.
in the wake of Mark Twain and all that.
Yes, yeah.
So
who,
like
in one of his stories actually had like there was a little like was it the famous jumping frog of such and such county, and the frog's name was Daniel Webster.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
But Daniel. So I was wondering, did people before this like say Daniel as 3 syllables, and then now this is like saying it properly, like the way we say it today, Daniel as 2 syllables, or
maybe?
But
or
you're
maybe,
saying it entirely differently. You're saying like Daniel.
Yeah. That's what I like. The audiobooks that I've heard, and including the Mark Twain one with the story about the frog, they say Daniel.
Huh. Okay.
I think it's like we all know it's Daniel, but we're making fun of the people of that region who say Daniel.
Okay.
I think that's what it is.
Daniel.
Yeah, Daniel Webster.
Until I met my boyfriend Mark, who I've been with now 11 years or so, but I would call my friend Jeremy. I'd call him Jeremy. And Mark thought I was making fun of him, being like he's Jeremy, like he's covered in germs. I'm like, oh, that's just how I say Jeremy, I guess. But so now I am sure to pronounce it as 3 syllables.
Oh yeah, because it does.
Jeremy.
Like if you say it really quick, it does kind of sound like that. Yeah.
Jeremy.
Yeah, I went to see Jeremy today.
Right, that's how I would say it.
Why do you hate this person? What?
All right, so Daniel.
I went to see Daniel, right?
Daniel Webster,
right? And there's that part where to fool the devil, he puts on a wig and and a fat suit and this lady's dress.
Oh no!
But then halfway through the trial, they discover that it's Daniel, and and the devil's like, Daniel. I have to go back to hell now. There we go. We shoehorned that in.
Oh my God! I hadn't thought of that.
Every time I can't hear Daniel now, and But anyway, okay. So Devil and Daniel Webster. It starts off establishing this folklore framework. It's presented as a border country tale from where like Massachusetts meets Vermont and New Hampshire. So right away we get this like mythic introduction to Daniel Webster, who may be dead and buried, but supposedly if you go to his grave and call out his name, the ground starts shaking and you hear his voice asking about how the Union stands. And if you don't answer correctly, he might just rise out of his grave.
No, he's a real person. So Tom Walker is not a real person.
Right.
So, and he's very famous in the 30s. I don't know if we talk about Daniel Webster in high school at all. I didn't really know him. But he was one of the more famous senators who didn't become president,
Right.
Like
and
William Jennings Bryan or something. But I remember learning about William Jennings Bryan and John T. Calhoun and Henry Clay, but not a whole lot about Daniel Webster. But I guess in the 30s, he would have been very well known.
Yeah. It's weird that now his kind of larger than life persona in this story is the more famous of the two,
Right.
And you could almost be forgiven for thinking that this is a fictional character like Tom Walker.
Yeah.
All right. I do want to read this introduction to our guy Daniel Webster. So it starts out, right? You see, for a while he was the biggest man in the country.
You don't got to do the voice like this.
I am absolutely doing the voice. Because some say if you go down there. No, he said he never got to be president, but he was the biggest man. There were thousands that trusted him next to God Almighty, and they told stories about him and all the things that belonged to him that were like the stories of patriarchs and such. They said when he stood up to speak, stars and stripes came right out of the sky. And once he spoke against a river and made it sink into the ground. They said when he walked the woods with his fishing rod, Kill All, that's the name of the fishing rod, the trout would jump out of the streams right into his pockets, for they knew it was no use putting up a fight against him. And when he argued a case, he would turn on the harps of the blessed and the shaking of the earth underground. So there we go. That's the tone that we are setting for this story.
Right. So he's this orator, right? That's what he's known for.
Right. He's got a silver tongue.
Silver tongue, yeah. And he is not known for creating Webster's dictionary, because that's no Webster.
Yes.
Yes.
That's a completely other Webster. Yeah. So now our actual protagonist, though, is we're he's not even the guy we're following.
Yeah. Why are we talking about this
now.
guy for?
Yeah. Right. We're talking about a guy named Jabez Stone.
Yeah.
Right. Jabez. That is not a name that you hear very much anymore, like Ebenezer, I guess.
There is a character in the Bible named Jabez, which in Hebrew is more like Yabetz or something, right? But Jabez, meaning he makes sorrowful because his mother had a hard time laboring.
Oh, okay.
So you just keep that name for the rest of your life, because you had a big head or whatever, or you were all turned around in there. So you're Jabez.
Well, I think he grew into this name. Because, this unlucky New Hampshire farmer from Cross Corners, he cannot catch a break, right? If he plants corn, he gets borers, which I think is something bad with corn. If he plants potatoes, he gets blight. I know what that is. And it's like mold on your potatoes, right? Nobody wants that. And then one day after breaking his plow on a rock that he swore wasn't there yesterday, right? He exclaims that he would sell his soul to the devil for 2 cents. And then, I like this. Then he felt a kind of queerness come over him, having said what he said, though naturally, being a New Hampshireman, he wouldn't take it back. I love that these stories have this baked in, those other people in Massachusetts, those other people in New Hampshire, right? It's like naturally being a Maine person or a New York person, he was like this. He was very ornery or whatever,
Right. Yeah, I don't know if we have those stereotypes today. Maybe people in Massachusetts have them, but
sure. But yeah, so the next day, right on schedule, this, quote, soft-spoken, dark-dressed stranger shows up in a fancy buggy. This description is perfect, right? Benet doesn't go over-the-top demonic here, right? The stranger has... The one thing that I noticed, though, he has white, plentiful teeth. Quote, they were white teeth and plentiful. Some say they were filed to a point, but I wouldn't vouch for that. I really like that Benet is baking in, or Benet is adding the kind of the big fish exaggerations that would happen over time from a word of mouth story. It's because you imagine this, if this wasn't published, if this was kind of a tall tale that gets passed, from generation to generation, some overly imaginative, teller is going to be like, oh, and his teeth were filed to a point, right?
Right.
But him saying, nah, I think that's like, that part isn't true, makes the rest of it sound more true. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. In the Washington Irving, Tom Walker one, right? It was like, oh, this might have happened, but no one was there, so we don't really know. But here, yeah, this feels more like people passing it down generation to generation and letting them get exaggerated. So this is more like Johnny Appleseed, Paul Bunyan, like you were talking about.
Yeah. But yeah, even the dog runs away howling from this stranger, right? Jabez knows exactly who this is. They make a deal behind the barn, and Jabez has to prick his finger to sign. The stranger even loans him a silver pin. Very nice touch. What do we think of? Because this is our introduction. This is our devil. What do we think of how the devil is presented so far in this story?
It's an improvement over Irving in that the devil can be dressed in black as opposed to being dyed black or sooted black or just a black man, right? Yeah, but I like him. Like here again, like we know the devil is bad. Jabez knows that he shouldn't, but I like chalking it up to, well, he's from New Hampshire, so he had to go through with it.
Right, yeah. It's like, it just, the narrator just kind of like turning to the reader. It's like, you know how these things are. It's like, you gotta,
fuckers are up there, right? These asshats in New Hampshire.
These New Hampshiremen,
Right, where Tom Walker feels a little bit more, well, he's greedy. He's terribly greedy, right?
Yeah.
But here we don't make Jabez Stone like, oh, he's so incredibly desperate, and that's why he's doing this. It's instead like this pride, like, hey, I'm a man of my word, and out here we stick to what we started, right? Very American, very John Wayne.
Yeah, right. So I mean, like with Tom Walker, you were like, you don't want to be like this guy because this is what happens to people like him. With Jabez, it's almost like you can relate to him, but he's like, it was like we're gonna make him ornery,
right?
But a specific state brand of ornery. he's New Hampshire ornery.
He's New Hampshire.
Yeah, right. But yeah, so after the deal, right, which is actually like it happens, it goes by really quick,
right?
But Jabez his luck completely turns around, right? His farm prospers. He becomes important in the community, and the stone
his borers are gone.
Yep,
his blight is gone. That stone in particular that broke his plow is gone.
Right.
This stone in particular. Fuck that stone in particular.
And the Stone family, interesting, is content, except for Jabez himself. Every year, like clockwork, the stranger comes by, but it's not until the sixth.
Sixth?
It's been a while.
It's been a while since we did that one. Yeah.
It's not until the sixth year that things get serious.
Yeah, it's a 7-year mortgage is how they refer to it. Yeah, so it's a 7-year mortgage. And I like that. I think that's very interesting because it's such a small amount of time for the devil, right? And the devil's like bargaining for, if the devil is eternal, right? Like why not give, he gives Faust 50 years or whatever.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Why not give them a long time? But the devil's like, nope, we got to be serious about this. 7 years.
7 years, right? And I mean, I just like the idea of, right, it's such a new country. We're still figuring things out. So I feel like readers would be all too familiar with this type of legality here. It's like, when you're purchasing a farm, when you're purchasing a plot of land, when you're looking at a mortgage for a house, which is, they call it a mortgage, right?
Right. But also keep in mind, this is, it's about the, I don't know if we know when this is exactly, but in Daniel Webster years, right? But it's written for a 1930s Great Depression audience.
Yes.
Yeah, who would be very skeptical of bankers and money lenders.
Yes, and especially ones that, ride up in a handsome buggy and, it's like all smiling with their teeth,
Right.
It's like, oh, this is bad news. But when the stranger visits in that 6th year, we get a few more details about him. He's wearing handsome black boots, unquote, that Jabez doesn't like the look of, particularly the toes. And that's all that Benet says. What do we, like, are we thinking, like, they look like hooves or what?
Oh, of course. That must be what that means, right?
That's the only thing I'm thinking of.
Yeah, I just thought he was like, these are fancy city folk shoes. But of course,
okay.
Yeah, of course. They must be hooves.
Particularly the toes, yeah.
Right.
And this is when we find out that the deal was for 7 years, and the stranger's casual mention of, quote, when the mortgage falls due, right? Makes it clear what's at stake. And then there's this interesting moment when something flutters out of the stranger's pocketbook. Something, quote, like a moth, but not like a moth. And it calls out to Jabez in a, quote, small, sort of piping voice, terrible small and terrible thin, but terrible human, right? And it's the voice of this guy named Miser Stevens, whom Jabez knows was alive recently, like just Tuesday.
Right.
The stranger catches it in a bandana, quote, just like a butterfly. Do you catch your butterflies in a bandana?
No, I
Keenan?
leave them the fuck alone.
Yeah. But no, every time I read these old stories, they'll make a comparison, like, you know, and he twisted his best friend's arm just like a cat's neck, and I'm like, who's going around twisting cats' necks? But no, I mean, like, that's, you know, I would read stuff like that, and there was like this cruelty, this casual cruelty to animals that like it would just you would be like, oh yeah, this was a long time ago. Oh
Yeah, or like plucking the legs off a caterpillar, but they mean it like as a good thing, like you know,
right?
it's a fun thing you do.
Like, oh, this little boy, like he was so good he wouldn't hurt a dog. Who's out here hurting dogs? Sheesh. Sounds like a you problem, New Hampshire. No, I mean, I'm
You know how New Hampshire
oh,
is.
New Hampshire, yeah. Not like Boston, no.
Yeah, the devil, no, not Old Scratch, Mr. Scratch here.
Mr. Scratch here, yeah.
Yeah, Old Scratch is my father.
Yeah.
You can call me Mr. Scratch. But Mr. Scratch is like going through and he's like, no, I'm pretty sure I know the terms of your contract. And then he's going through alphabetically and he gets to the S's to get to Stone. And that's, so it's like he's trying to like show him, I don't know, like he's making it like, oops, Miser Stevens got out. Like, like, oh, that wasn't supposed to happen. But he's the devil. So I imagine he's doing this on purpose, right? Like he's like, this is intimidation tactics. Like, look who I've gotten here. I've got everybody.
Oh, I actually like that. I didn't even think that it was like a purposeful mistake. I just thought it's like, oh, this is but I really do like this kind of like, we're dressing the devil up like an accountant, and he's, you know, opening his ledger, and he's like, oh, let's see, and he's, you know,
let's
like,
see if there's anything I can do. Oh, here's some other bastard from down the road who I turn into a moth, right?
So okay, is that the fate of souls in this world, in this story? They all become like little moths, and they have to hang out in his little pocketbook, or is that like
if that's just him specifically, Stevens?
right?
Yeah,
Yeah, right.
Do you know this movie, The Lobster?
The Lobster.
Yeah, but it's a British movie, so I don't know how to say it. The Lobster.
Lobster.
Yeah, this Yorgos Lanthimos movie. Well, anyways, it's in this world, for whatever reason, they don't go into it, luckily, but it's you have to partner with people in this world, and if you don't partner by the time you're like 45 or something, you get turned into an animal.
Oh.
But you get to pick what animal. You
Okay.
pick. So Colin Farrell picks a lobster because lobsters are functionally immortal. So unless they get eaten or something, they'll live forever, you know.
Well, that's something I didn't need to know about lobsters.
But no, the question is, what animal would you like to be?
Yeah.
If you have to be cursed with turning into an animal.
Well, first, I mean, let's address this lobster thing first, because I am very freaked out by lobsters.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yes, because they are giant bugs in the water.
Yes.
That is what they are. And just the idea of like, I'm going to eat this. Like I boiled this and now it's on a plate. It's like a giant pill bug or something like that. And I'm like, no. I caught it. It was scuttling around under my fridge or whatever. You know. No. And now you tell me they can live forever. Great.
Well, that's what they think. That's what the character thinks.
That's what the lobsters think. They have religion.
I don't know if it's true, but like, yeah, most lobsters get killed, but they don't like die of old age.
I see. Right. They're like Tolkien's elves.
Oh, really?
They either get killed or very, very sad. Yeah. Okay, but yeah, an animal. Let's see, what animal would I like as I'm choosing, like I have to be punished and I'm choosing it?
Because
or?
you haven't found a soulmate.
Oh, okay. So this isn't an Animorphs like you could be anything. Okay.
Oh, well, it is, but you don't get to turn back into a person.
Oh, I see. Okay, so I have to be that forever. Okay.
Right.
Oh, geez.
So he picks one with the long lifespan, but other people might pick one with the short lifespan, right? Because it's sad to become an animal.
Okay. Do I have the consciousness of a human still?
I think so.
I
guess nobody comes back from it and tells them.
Right.
Oh, when I was a snake the whole time, I was a person. I don't think they know. Yeah.
Well, these moths here in this story, they very much remember being humans.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
And I'm guessing the lobster does too. So okay, if I can do that, I would want to be. Oh God, I would want to be like a cat or a dog, like a house cat or a dog.
Okay.
Because I still get to live in a nice, comfy house.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah.
I basically live like I'm living now, except I don't have to work, and people feed me and give me cuddles, and I can still watch TV, and I'll figure out, by God, how to play the Xbox when when the humans go away.
When the humans are gone. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you got like 10, 12 years, but you're in a house.
Yes.
Yeah.
No job, no
job.
responsibility. Lovely.
Yeah, I think I would pick a panda, although that would be saying goodbye to sex. But I get to sit around and I have no predators. People just come over and try to get me to do things, and I say,
try to get you to have
thanks.
sex.
Try to get me to have sex. Yeah. I'm like, no, thanks. I'm over here.
See, but then, I mean, that's perfect because, like, as a panda, you wouldn't want to anyway. You're like, meh, bamboo is better. I'll still hang out with them, but, we'll just eat
they
bamboo
can be over
together.
there. I'll just be on my slide, and they'll be over on their jungle gym, and we can see each other. But we don't need to do anything. Yeah.
Yeah.
See, but I guess the point of me bringing that up is nobody picks a moth in the devil's billfold.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Nobody
that's
ever
true.
chooses that.
Right. Because who wants to? And now that I know, I think, did we talk about it in Everything Everywhere or in The Devil about moths? No, I don't know. I think it was the Everything Everywhere. But folks, do you know why moths are attracted to flames and light?
Right.
It's actually really sad. They think it's the sun, and they're trying to fly straight with the sun on their back. Right, with the sun above them. So when they're circling around those lights, they think they're going in a straight line. They're going somewhere. They're not going anywhere. They're stuck. Ugh.
Well, that's sad.
Yeah, it is. Right. So no, not a moth. I think Benet did a really good job in making a very not desirable animal here to be as punishment. Right. Yeah. But yeah. So the devil like just plucks him, in a handkerchief, and then apologizes for the quote-unquote interruption.
Right.
So maybe this was purposeful. Right. Then the bell tolls in the valley for Miser Stevens' death, so we know that it was him. And this is when the horror really hits home for Jabez. The stranger reveals that captured souls vary in size, and he would have to build a special box for someone like Daniel Webster. Even the devil's talking about Daniel Webster without any provocation. It's like, now, Daniel Webster, right?
There's a man for you.
Yeah, right. But Jabez begs for an extension, and he gets 3 more years. Again, nothing to the devil.
Right.
But again, I like these magic numbers. First is 7, now is 3, right? But the story says, quote, "Till you make a bargain like that, you got no idea how fast 4 years can run." And it does say 4 years, even though it's supposed to be 3. Oh, 3 more years. Okay, math, Lester.
Do some math. Yeah.
Jesus. Yeah. So, but near the end of that time, Jabez arrives to Marshfield to seek Daniel Webster's help. The title character.
I guess Webster was so famous that you would just say Marshfield and know like Graceland or something, and you know who goes to go or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we go into Marshfield. Oh, yeah. That means Daniel Webster.
Yeah, you're going to see Daniel Webster, right? And so I love the introduction, right? So it was early in the morning when he got to Marshfield, but Daniel was up already, talking Latin to the farmhands and wrestling with the ram Goliath and trying out a new trotter and working up speeches to make against John C. Calhoun. But when he heard a New Hampshire man had come to see him, he dropped everything else he was doing, for that was Daniel's way. He gave Jabez Stone a breakfast that 5 men couldn't eat, went into the living history of every man and woman in Cross Corners, and finally asked him how he could serve him. So, again, this is a real person, but we are doing that like Paul Bunyan, Johnny Appleseed. He's up before the sun, talking Latin and making speeches, to present to John C. Calhoun.
Right.
Yeah. But then, so after hearing Jabez's story, Webster not only agrees to take the case, but says, "For if 2 New Hampshiremen aren't a match for the devil, we might as well give the country back to the Indians." You should do that anyway.
He
Just
knows
do
he
that.
should. Yeah, listen to him.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Daniel Webster is I wonder who claims him. So he represented both Massachusetts and New Hampshire in the Congress,
right?
Which is I think very rare. This is the first I've ever heard of it, of somebody moving to a different state and being their congressperson in two different states. Like like Mitt Romney was from Michigan and then Massachusetts and then Utah, but he wasn't the congressperson from both Utah and Massachusetts.
Right.
So, yeah. I don't know. That's weird.
I imagine he's one of those people that all of those places claim. It's like, oh yeah, we're the Daniel Webster people.
Right. And we hate Massachusetts people.
Yes.
But we love Daniel Webster. Yeah.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Right. Oh, there is some Massachusetts hate in this story.
But so here, I don't know. So Benet picks a side, and Webster calls himself a New Hampshireman.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Right, which I'm not sure what he would have called himself by the end of it. But
I bet the New Hampshire folk are very, very happy with that, because now they can say, it's like, he's a New Hampshireman, see? Just like in the story.
Right, exactly.
All right. But yeah, so the confrontation happens at midnight. Jabez invites him over to his house, and it happens in the kitchen. And there's just this weird throwaway line. Mrs. Stone wanted them to sit in the front parlor, but Daniel Webster knew front parlors and said he preferred the kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
What? But it's funny, but I don't know why. It's God, those front parlors, I know about those,
Yeah, I guess because we don't have front parlors anymore, so I don't know if we know, but I think it's like that's where idle talk is, and nothing gets done there or something.
Oh, so it's kind of
everyone's on their best behavior,
Oh, he's like, all right, let's be honest, men. Let's get in the kitchen.
I think so.
Okay, that's what. Okay, I get it now. Or I think I get it. I'm going to trust you. But yeah, so then we get the devil making his entrance, and now he's called Mr. Scratch. And he's described as, quote, very dark and tall with, quote, eyes glowing like a fox's deep in the woods. All right. He's carrying a, quote, japanned box. And I should have looked that up before. What is that just...
Oh, why'd you guess? Go ahead.
Well, I don't know. I'm envisioning like a certain style of box, like lacquered, Okay.
Exactly. It's the black lacquer effect that they would have in the bento box.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they just call it a japanned box.
Yeah, like China.
Oh, like
China.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha,
So that's what that is. Yeah.
Okay. But this box has air holes, and this makes Jabez shrink into the corner. So Jabez has now become like he's the guy we're following, but he has become this. I mean, he's become like a moth now.
Oh, that's a good point.
Kind of, Yeah. When Scratch pours himself a drink, right, the liquor it's established as being very, very cold, but the jug comes out steaming. So we got this association with with fire, and it's he's making everything hot that he touches. Yeah. All right. And then they describe the initial kind of discussion between the devil and Daniel Webster, and it says. Well, with that, the argument began, and it went hot and heavy.
Hot and heavy?
Hot and heavy.
That means something very different in our day.
It does.
Mr. Benet.
Or do you think...
Maybe
no,
he doesn't. Maybe he didn't mean nothing different. When hot and heavy, they were necking and pawing at each other.
Yeah.
I don't think that means what you think
and
it
means,
Mr. Benet.
And it was a real... wet and wild time.
Wet and wild. A dry hump of an argument. Well.
But it was, I mean, it looked like Daniel Webster was losing. He pulled a few boners, and it was... That's a thing. That means make a mistake.
All right, no, it just says hot and heavy.
Hot and heavy, right. And it continues. At first, Jabez Stone had a flicker of hope, but when he saw Daniel Webster being forced back at point after point, he just sat scrunched in his corner with his eyes on that japanned box. For there wasn't any doubt as to the deed or the signature. That was the worst of it. Daniel Webster twisted and turned and thumped his fist on the table, but he couldn't get away from that. He offered to compromise the case. The stranger wouldn't hear of it. He pointed out the property had increased in value, and that senators ought to be worth more. The stranger stuck to the letter of the law. He was a great lawyer, Daniel Webster, but we know who's the king of lawyers, as the good book tells us. I like that. And it seemed as if, for the first time, Daniel Webster had met his match.
That's a great line, but I don't think there is a king of lawyers in the good book. I tried to find that.
No. I think this is the beginning of that old tradition of Americans quoting things that were never in the Bible.
Oh, so Benet invented it. Oh, that's nice.
Right? Just say whatever the fuck you want to say, and then you finish it with "as the good book says." It was getting hot and heavy, as the good book says.
All right, good. So not the only one. Yeah, I couldn't find that at all.
No. Right? I think he's being snarky here, the king of lawyers and blah blah blah. Right?
Because there weren't lawyers back then.
No. I mean, if we want to get really nerdy, which we never do on this show, but it's like the Satan being kind of like the prosecuting attorney, and so he's the king of lawyers. I don't think that's what Benet was talking about. I think he's saying lawyers, much like insurance agents, are pieces of shit, and the devil is the king of lawyers. Anyway,
in the new. In the King James version, Luke talks about "woe to you, lawyers," but that I think that's famously one of those King James mistranslations.
Oh, right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Right. Thou shalt not suffer a poisoner to live or a witch to live. Which one was it first? Yeah. But yeah. So and I love. So Daniel Webster says, Mr. Stone is an American citizen, and no American citizen may be forced into the service of a foreign prince. We fought England for that in '12, and we'll fight all hell for it again. But I love the devil's answer here. I can't help but like this one. This one is so readable. So the devil answers, "Foreign?" said the stranger, "and who calls me a foreigner?" "Well, I never yet heard of the whatever of your claiming American citizenship," said Daniel Webster with surprise. And this, folks, listen to this. Quote, "And who with better right," said the stranger, with one of his terrible smiles, "when the first wrong was done to the first Indian, I was there. When the first slaver put out for the Congo, I stood on her deck. Am I not in your books and stories and beliefs from the first settlements on? Am I not spoken of still in every church in New England? 'Tis true the North claims me for a Southerner and the South for a Northerner, but I am neither. I am merely an honest American like yourself, and of the best descent. For, to tell the truth, Mr. Webster, though I don't like to boast of it, my name is older in this country than yours." I love this paragraph.
Yeah, I think that's the key, right? So this is the kind of the whole piece is like this patriotic jingoist, like America is the best place on earth,
right? Yeah,
but this kind of version of that was popular in the 30s is the one that gets to me, like the Frank Capra, Mr. Smith Goes to Washington version of it. That there's like, look at all this terrible stuff America does, but the promise of America is stronger than that. And I don't, maybe that's not right, but that's the kind of patriotic talk that I like a lot, where they're like, look how awful this is, like the original sins of genocide and slavery, but we could do better than that. Is we're jumping ahead to the end of the story.
Yeah. And I have to, actually I didn't even think of it, but like I highlighted both of those. I highlighted this speech by the devil, and then Daniel Webster's speech at the very end.
Right.
And it's like these are bookends. I didn't realize that one was related to the other, but like this is the counter to that, or I guess the other one is the counter to this one, right?
Right. Yeah. I guess I generally find like jingoist statements without this acknowledgement to be pretty false.
Yes.
You're pretty hollow, rather.
Yeah, I was very worried as I was reading this that this is like, this is bordering on some like Christian nationalism, what do you call it, manifest destiny, like God loves America the most type,
right?
Rhetoric. But then the devil comes in and he's like, oh no, remember all of the bad things that America was built on. America is built on blood and bones of innocence and stuff. And I was like, oh, okay.
Right.
Mr. Benet, yes. Yeah. So.
Yeah, like Michelle Obama, when she was in the White House, she was talking about, she wakes up every morning and raises her daughters in a house built by slaves, but it's the White House, and
yes,
and that double-edged sword of that, and then I think people on in the Republicans, who hate Michelle Obama, no matter what she says, I think that they were actively like misinterpreting that, but when she was expressing like this double-edged sword of like, wow, I am in this great place that means all these wonderful things, and then it also has this like melancholy to it because of how it got there.
Yeah, they know what it means. They just don't want to acknowledge it.
Right.
But no, but that's such a great like callback to this is like all of the good like stands on the shoulders of bodies,
right?
And like there's just as much blood in this soil as there is water and and whatever,
right?
Yeah, but yeah. So after this, Webster responds. He demands a trial with an American judge and an American jury.
Right. he says, "Oh, you are beholden to the Constitution if you are an American. So let's do this constitutional wise."
Yeah. And so Scratch summons a jury of the damned. And again, folks, I saw The Simpsons Treehouse of Horror first. So when this popped up in my English class, I was like, oh, this is where that comes from.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, so it's 12 notorious figures from American history.
Yeah.
And
we only list a couple of them, though.
I know. I was like, okay, like... I was all excited to be. I was like, oh, there's like 6 or 7. Okay,
Right.
fine. But I guess that opens up to, like, oh, okay, we can decide, who else is in here, I guess,
Right, I guess so.
Yeah, right. I mean, Columbus would be in here now.
Yeah, he's as American as some of these people.
Yeah. Which is to say not.
Right.
But yeah. But yeah, okay, so let's go through the ones that are mentioned in the story. We got Walter Butler, who was a loyalist officer who led devastating raids through the Mohawk Valley during the Revolution, burning settlements and slaughtering revolutionaries.
Yeah, yeah. So he was an American who stayed with the British. I don't know if that makes him evil, but there you go.
Right, yeah. So and they called those as capital L loyalists.
Boo, loyalty, boo.
Yeah, right. but loyal to the king.
Right. Boo, King George. Boo.
Ah, King George. You'll be back. Right. That song is playing like more frequently nowadays. I don't know why. I just don't understand. Yeah. Then we got Simon Girty, a notorious frontiersman who betrayed the American settlers to join the Native Americans.
Yep.
That one I'm even more forgiving of.
Right. Well, that was a big problem during the. So again, like we're like, hooray, American
How
Revolution.
dare you side with the people who were already here?
Right. That's a major part of it because like. A big reason we had the Revolutionary War was because the British said, let's not do another, we can't get involved in another 7 years war, which here in America was the French and Indian Wars. So let's honor these native treaties. And the Americans like, what? And it's not like, it's not the one precipitating thing, but that was definitely part of it.
Yeah.
So it was that and the Stamp Act and the Tax Act and the Boston Massacre and all this stuff. But
yeah.
But then, for these British people to be like, let's uphold these treaties with these English people was seen as, evil. Right to hell.
Yeah. We were born out of this attitude of don't tell me what to fucking do.
Right.
Tell
them what to do. They're Indians.
Yes.
Right.
and we held on to that until right now. And yeah, and that's all I'm going to say about that right now.
Right. But next is a character that we have in The Devil and Tom Walker.
Yes, right. Yeah. So this is I guess this is his fake name, but this is King Philip, right, or Metacomet actually.
Right.
And he was this Wampanoag chief who nearly succeeded in driving colonists out of New England in his famous 1675 uprising before being killed with a massive head wound, and that's how he is described in the story, with his massive head wound.
Well, that is what the story is, but in the real one, he was shot in the heart.
Oh.
So they gave him so Benet gives him, I don't know if that's based on some other legends, not everyone access to like the full history or whatever, but but so I don't know if Benet invented that or not, but yeah, just gave him a much more like gruesome and like dying in a, frankly, like the way an Indian might kill a white person, you're with an axe to the head,
Yeah, okay. Well, that's weird because no, it's got to be him picking up on a pre-established legend because he's so casual about it. He's like, with his head wound, right?
Yes.
Like everybody already knows that he has a head wound.
Right.
Yeah. Right? It's like Teach the pirate with his black beard. Right? Who's another guy, right? In the jury, right? This legendary pirate who, it's fucking Blackbeard, guys.
Right. He's in the Tom Walker story as well, right?
Yes. Yeah. Oh, no, that's Captain Kidd.
Oh, never mind. Sorry.
Yeah, right.
Sorry, pirates.
Yes. We're generalizing pirates over here. Right. But no, he terrorized the Atlantic coast line with his fearsome appearance, which apparently like he lit the tips of his beard on fire.
Yeah, I like that. I wonder what the point of that would be, but but
just to make him look. Yeah. Or was that as hearsay as like the head wound thing?
I don't know. Yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah, but yeah. So there's that guy. He doesn't say this chair be high, he says I in this version. Simpsons. We get Governor Dale. He's this cruel early Virginia governor known for imposing harsh martial law on colonists, including breaking men on the wheel as punishment.
Okay. Yeah, I couldn't find what their beef was with him, so thanks for that.
Right. Then we got Morton of Merry Mount. Right? Sounds like he did not choose that name. He established a settlement that deeply offended Puritan sensibilities.
Right, so he was like a breakaway from the Pilgrims.
Yes, right. Specifically from the Puritans, who are the most. They had the biggest stick up their butt. Let's say, let's say maypole-sized, because that's what it is. Like he offended the Puritans with it's like his establishment had like maypoles and drinking and fraternizing with the Native Americans. Right,
Exactly.
I'm sure they didn't call them Native Americans.
No, I don't think they did.
No. But yeah, and then we got this guy that I'm not sure. Like AI is telling me this guy is not real.
He is not real.
Okay. Why of all
why mention him at all then?
Yeah. Why? You only mentioned 7. Find one other real guy.
And one of them is fake. Yeah.
So this guy is okay. Reverend John Smeat.
Right. I don't know if AI should. I don't know if we needed AI to tell us that it was not a real person, but we should have known. Yeah.
You just reading it sounds like John Levitz. It's like Reverend John Smeat. Yeah, that's the ticket.
Yeah, I'm a bad reverend.
Yeah, he's a hypocritical minister / murderer who strangled his victims. Yeah. No, that's what it That's and that's all Benet tells us.
Right. Mm-hmm.
He's like a proto Night of the Hunter guy.
Right.
Yeah.
So there are 5 slots left with this John Smeat fictional character. Mm-hmm. What he doesn't do, what Benny doesn't do, is include, Southerners, enslavers or anything. So it's interesting. So even in the 30s, people tried to, Gone with the Wind was the most popular book ever sold in America, right?
Yeah.
And there's still this kind of grudging respect of oh gosh, I hope the Union survives, but it's not that they were bad. Slavery was bad, but these people weren't bad, Because I think if you're writing it today, you'd be like, well, Jefferson Davis and Alexander Stephens, these are the people, right? But but they're not in his little list there.
Yeah.
Or George Custer or something.
Yeah. You would think, right?
Right.
Yeah. At one point, he's like, "Where?" It's like I don't see Benedict Arnold here,
right?
Right. And the devil's like, "Oh, Benedict Arnold is busy." It's like, what's he busy doing? Busy being a moth in my pocket.
I like that because it's like the devil has these people on his roster and he sends them to do his bidding, like little angels, I guess, or little devils, right? So
yeah, right.
Arnold's doing something else right now.
Right. He's turning Old Lady Crockett's milk sour or something,
Right. It is interesting that you pick them, the most famous American villain, Benedict Arnold, I would say, and then say oh, you can't have him here.
Right. Yeah. He's not. I guess because we're what happens at the end, maybe.
Yeah. Maybe. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But yeah. And then Benet finishes. He says, "Quote: One and all they came into the room with the fires of hell upon them, and the stranger named their names and their deeds as they came, till the tale of 12 was told." Mm-hmm. But we got the tale of 6 or 7. Yet the stranger had told the truth. They had all played a part in America.
Right. But you're missing the judge here.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. So I was going to say, right? Mm-hmm. So there's kind of like a back and forth. It's after the Benedict Arnold thing. And then he's like, oh, yes, right. We need a justice. Mm-hmm. And so he snaps his fingers and in comes a gentleman by the name of John, I'm going to say Hawthorne.
I think it's Hawthorne.
I think it's Hawthorne, just spelled differently. But he is one of the kind of more notorious judges who presided over the Salem witch trials.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Right? And I played him in The Crucible in high school.
And that's a good role, but it's a smaller role, I suppose.
Yes, I wanted to be Danforth. But I didn't get to be Danforth because a senior got to be Danforth.
Oh, my God. Who was it? What's his name?
It was, oh, shit. What was his name? It was Ben Ivy.
Oh, Ben Ivy, who I've never seen, but
Yeah.
I don't like him.
Freaking Ben Ivy.
I mean, I saw your production of The Crucible, but I don't remember Ben Ivy.
He did a great fucking job, fucking asshole. No. But yeah.
Yeah, so Hawthorne, It is interesting, like
great-grandfather of Nathaniel Hawthorne?
Oh,
or just grandfather?
I think just grandfather. That's a good question. Oh no, you're right. Great-great-grandfather.
Oh, geez. Okay.
And Nathaniel Hawthorne was born without a W in his name and added the W.
Right, because he was so ashamed of his grandfather his great-great-grandfather that he wanted to completely remove himself from that legacy.
Yeah, so it's interesting. In the Tom Walker story, the witch trials are an example of American evilness because the witches are presumed to be real witches.
Yes.
And then here, already in our retelling of it, our remake of The Devil and Tom Walker, we have now where it is the legal system and John Hathorne are the evil, the American evil.
Yes. Oh, I love that. That is, I didn't even realize that. Yeah. So in Tom Walker, he meets the devil out in the woods, and he's like, I'm the one who kind of like instigated the witch trials by making those women witches.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And here the devil is like, yeah, John Hathorne is in hell, as are all the judges of the witch trials. They're the bad ones.
Right.
Oh, I love that. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, the trial goes badly for Webster, with Scratch getting all of his objections sustained while Webster's are always denied. Mm-hmm. Webster nearly falls into the trap of fighting with the devil's weapons. He sees the, quote, blue mist of evil thicken and realizes they've come for him too, not just Jabez. It's like this whole thing was a trap to also get Daniel Webster. I like that. Right? And if he uses his anger and his bluster, he'll kind of fall into their power.
Right.
All right. So instead of condemning, Webster gives this speech about America and what it makes a man a man.
Right.
So here it is. I'm just gonna it's kind of a Monster Mash situation because we hear Benet talk about the speech. The narrator talks about the speech. We don't actually get the speech. Right. Mm-hmm. But this is what Benet says. He says, he started off in a low voice, though you could hear every word. They say he could call on the harps of the blessed when he chose, and this was just as simple and easy as a man could talk. But he didn't start out by condemning or reviling. He was talking about things that make a country, and a man. And he began with the simple things that everybody's known and felt. The freshness of a fine morning when you're young, and the taste of food when you're hungry, and the new day that's every day when you're a child. He took them up and he turned them in his hands. They were good things for any man. But without freedom, they sickened. And when he talked of those enslaved and the sorrows of slavery, his voice got like a big bell. He talked of the early days of America and the men who had made those days. It wasn't a spread eagle speech, but he made you see.
The hell does that mean?
I don't know.
Was it hot and heavy, though?
It was hot and heavy.
But it wasn't spread
eagle. I think when he says that, it wasn't a spread eagle speech, is he saying it wasn't a,
honk, honk, honk,
right.
honk.
Is it that, like, it wasn't like a Christian nationalist, Paula White, victory, angels, blah, blah, blah.
I don't know.
She would be on the other side.
I am afraid of Googling this.
Spread eagle speech.
This means pretentious and boastful and like self-congratulatory.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
All right.
So that was close.
Thanks, Wiktionary.
Yeah.
Then Wikipedia says the spread eagle is the position in which a person has their arms outstretched and legs apart, figuratively resembling an eagle with wings spread.
Sure, Wiktionary. That's what it means. Yeah. But yeah, he continues. He said, he admitted all the wrong that had ever been done, but he showed how, out of the wrong and the right, the suffering and the starvations, something new had come, and everybody had played a part in it, even the traitors. Right? So that's speech. What did you? Okay, so you wanted to talk about this speech.
I just love it. I'm a sucker for it, and I know somewhere in my cynical Marxist mind, I'm like, this is the lie that we tell ourselves about our country, that like, oh, it has the potential to do good, so we should excuse all of the bad it does. But that really works on me.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
I think you have the same feeling for this that I have for. Like in our Exorcist show, when you were describing Father Marin and you were describing like he walks the walk of that impossible Christianity, like it's so ideal and so perfect that like a human being can't attain it.
Right.
But it's like, just because you can't attain it doesn't mean you shouldn't like strive for it every day. Like I really liked what you said about that. Like the idea of, just kind of the principle of, love your neighbor and do unto others and everything like that, that gets in our muddled human world, it gets, twisted and messed up. But like it itself is pure, and like what we make of it and how we perceive it is part of the problem, because like, you know, whatever we touch becomes, you know, impure, because we are by nature, you know, like fallen and, you know, and all that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we've been around long enough, I suppose, to be around some great American moments. I mean, you know, when the Supreme Court legalized gay marriage across the country, and that was one of the, I was like, wow, that I never thought that would happen in my lifetime, and then it did, and that felt really great. And you know, the extension of rights, and now we're in a period where, you know, rights are being rolled back, I think, objectively, no matter, you know, what side you're on, like that's kind of the point. And yeah, so maybe I'm especially cynical right now, but no, I love this kind of this look at America, that it's a process, and it is this ideal, like in the Capra-esque sense, or the Aaron Sorkin West Wing sense, that just like, man, it'd be great to live in that country that we say we are.
See, okay, like. Now I'm with you. Okay, all right. with that last phase, because folks, it like with everything going on right now, right? And we are recording. You know, this is Sunday, April 13th of 2025, and like, you know, people 100 years from now, if podcasts still exist, and you're wondering what's going on right now.
Why are you so sad right now?
Why is everybody so heavy, so hot and heavy?
Yeah, but potentially, like, Gen Alpha might have fewer rights than we do.
Yeah.
When they grow up, which is the reversal of most of American history, where each generation has more rights than the last.
Yeah. So, you know, with all of that in mind, you know, just like with everything going on in our country today, like, I got a very, very different reaction reading Daniel Webster's speech. I got goosebumps reading the Devil's speech and talking about, you know, it's like, it's like, you know, you lift up the carpet and there's bugs crawling all underneath this, you know, this beautiful tapestry. And I was like, oh yeah. But yeah, like you, Keenan, like I want to, it's like, oh, that sounds like a wonderful ideal. You know, it's like, sure would be great to live in that country.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah. So when Daniel Webster finishes, but okay, that aside, I do want to talk about, because I have seen this trope play out again and again and again, not even in, you know, direct parodies of The Devil and Daniel Webster, but whenever there's like some kind of supernatural trial, right? I'm thinking, the only one I can think of now is like the Beetlejuice cartoon.
Okay.
But there is, like, whenever there is a trial, the opposition does really, really well. You know, that prosecuting attorney does really, really well, and it looks like all is lost, and then our protagonist comes up, and it's like, but sir, you know, love, friendship, or, you know, whatever, and it gets everybody, you know, all misty-eyed, and, you know, you say you're a sucker for this speech. I'm a sucker for that. I am a sucker for figures of authority like judge and jury and attorneys being, you know, getting their hearts melted by something simple and pure. And, you know, we're going to see versions of that in, for example, The Devil and Daniel Mouse that we're going to cover.
All right.
Or I haven't seen it in, I haven't seen the whole, what's it called? All That Money Can Buy? Yeah.
Which is The Devil and Daniel Webster, but they had to change it because there was another movie at the same time that was The Devil and Miss Jones.
Right. Yeah. So we gotta, but we're gonna cover that, I think, next week because it's the exact story.
Yes.
But no, I do love me a, you know, melting the hearts of the courtroom trope.
Right.
That's a really sweet kind of like, I'm a sucker for that.
Yeah, with just simple, just folks, common decency.
Right. And it especially works if they're like some kind of like supernatural monster. It's like, we're devils, but we have hearts, right? You know. And this kind of does that, except he uses real people like Judge Hathorn, which I don't want to sympathize with, but this is, I guess, the first one, so, you know, it's a little rough around the edges. But yeah, so when Daniel Webster finishes, the jury has been transformed. Quote, the glitter was gone from their eyes and they were men again, right? And Walter Butler delivers the verdict for the defendant, right? And then when Scratch, or the devil, protests, Butler says, even the damned may salute the eloquence of Mr. Webster. Right.
Which I would disagree with I mean, in general. So basically the jury nullifies the verdict and just says, like, that was a really cool speech, bro.
Yeah. It was, if this were done today, which one? Walter Butler, yeah. It would be a silent courtroom, and then Walter Butler would stand up and he would go... And then the rest of the 12, whom we only know 7 of, would also start clapping. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, but jury nullification is this tricky thing, right? It's like, it feels really good. Like you should be able to say, like, the law is wrong and just do what we know is right. But then I guess Benet wouldn't really think about it this way. But, like, you know, in the Jim Crow South, jury nullification was used to let white people off from murdering black people and lynching them. And so it's this double-edged sword that is tricky. And I often wonder about how I would be in that type of situation.
Yeah, right. Because, okay, I mean, let's get into it, right? Because all of these tales, these tall tales, these folklore, you know, these stories about the devil, right? He's a tricky one. He's deceptive. He tricks you. What was the trickery in here?
Nothing. Yeah.
Right? Like it was you know, letter of the law. This is the contract. You like. Jabez, you started it, right? You said I would sell my soul for 2 cents, and then you did.
Yeah, I mean, so let's not spoil the Simpsons one once we get to that, but the Simpsons version improves upon this because they actually get out of it because of legality and not because of rhetoric, right? Like Socrates would be rolling in his grave here, where it's like rhetoric is not supposed to trump philosophy and logic and the law, right?
Yeah, yeah, and I love. And actually, yeah, now that I think about it, that's the best possible ending is the Simpsons.
Is the Simpsons one? Right?
That is because
we'll talk about that when we get there.
Yeah, but not only is it legality, but it's like it's also like it's mushy, which I love.
Yeah, it is both. It has the right stuff, like the morality stuff, but they find the legal reason as well.
Yeah, no, it's perfect. Right, Bacon?
Oh, I was hoping you wouldn't hear him. I was just about to wring his neck like a cat.
You know, like Tom Sawyer would do. I don't know. No, friend of the show, Bacon, folks. Yeah, okay. So the contract is torn up, right? Which I love. You know, very symbolic, visceral, visceral, visual, you know, thing, right? But this is where it gets like uber American, folks. This is, you know, this isn't Alice. This isn't, you know, the kids going into Narnia. This isn't, you know, this is fucking Dorothy, and she's got something to fucking say to the wizard before she leaves, right? So Webster is like, oh no, you don't. He grabs Scratch, who is the devil, remember, and makes him promise never to bother Jabez, quote, nor any other New Hampshire man till doomsday.
Yeah, he says, like, everyone knows that if you beat the devil a little bit, you have power over him, and you could start, doing noogies on him and giving him wet willies, right? And he has to do what you say. Yeah.
Everyone knows this. Just like King Philip's head wound.
Right, exactly.
Right? Everyone knows. It's like the devil is a leprechaun or something,
right?
Like
got him,
if you got him, then now you got to, right? So Scratch offers to tell Webster's fortune, right?
Oh, wait, let's go back for a second.
Oh, yes.
He's like, okay, so he does this good thing, like you're not going to bother Jabez, you're not going to bother the Stones, you're not going to bother his children, and you're not going to bother anyone from New Hampshire again. But that's a relatively small part of this country. You say you love Benet. Like, why not the whole country? Or why not the world or something?
Ah, well, those people in Salem. It's just, you know.
Okay, yes, but then I like this next part. I find it very, very melancholy. And
So before leaving, Scratch offers to tell Webster's fortune, and he predicts that he won't achieve his ambition of becoming president. His sons will die in war, and his last great speech will turn many against him. And it's like after each revelation, Daniel Webster kind of gives the like optimal stoic response. He's like, well, you know, that may be as it may, say on.
Right.
Only really caring whether the Union will survive the coming conflict.
Right.
Scratch says it won't happen in Webster's lifetime, but it will be won.
Yeah, and this speech that he gives is one that at the time, like in the 30s, would have been like, well, he was this great compromiser. He was trying to save the Union. But at the time, the reason people turned against him is because he was advocating as a Northerner, like for the Great Compromise of 1850, and basically taking on fugitive slave acts and things, which now we look back and we're like, that's terrible. Why would you ever negotiate any of this stuff? And his point was to keep the country safe, and then, you know, if you're working with the southern states and they're part of the Union, you might be able to convince them otherwise and move them away from slavery. But if you lose them in secession, then you can't, right?
Right.
So yeah, Benet takes that stance as like, hey, like that's his Pyrrhic victory. He did it, and that was a good thing. But yeah, history today generally says not that as actually like Webster's great failing was his compromise.
Right. But yeah. So his fortune told. Webster laughs and kicks Scratch out the door. Like literally, this is again. It's like I see him holding him by his like the top of his pants, and then just booting him like a cartoon like Bugs Bunny booting Elmer Fudd out.
Right,
you know?
exactly. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And, declaring that he'd go to the pit itself to save the Union, right? And the story concludes that the devil hasn't been seen in New Hampshire since, and gives Marshfield a wide berth. Actually, okay, I love this. So it says, quote, "But they say whenever the devil comes near Marshfield, even now, he gives it a wide berth. And he hasn't been seen in the state of New Hampshire from that day to this." I'm not talking about Massachusetts or Vermont. That last sentence. I'm not talking about Massachusetts or Vermont.
Right. Clearly there's a devil there.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I love this. What did we think of this story?
I'm really grateful for going back and taking a look at this now that we've seen more about the devil. And yeah, like when I read this when I was younger, I just think of it. The Americanism of it isn't very apparent to me because I'm not comparing it to the German and the French and the English Faust that we've been looking at.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So I really, really enjoyed taking a look at it again. But yeah, very melancholy right now, rereading like a patriotic piece.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
There's the devil for you.
Yeah, quite resonant today.
Yeah.
So yeah, and folks, if you got the time and if you haven't yet, you're listening to this episode, do yourself a favor and just jump on YouTube. They've got like people just like reading, the entire story on YouTube, and they got some really good narrators. I don't think these are licensed, but I mean,
oh yeah, good point.
This wouldn't be public domain yet.
It's not public domain yet. So
yeah.
What in where are we now? We're up to 1929 for public domain, I think. So 7 years from now, you can go and see a twisted horror movie version of
and it'll just be called Webster.
Daniel Webster. Oh, Mark went and saw Steamboat or whatever it's called. The Steamboat Willie horror
the
movie.
Mickey Mouse thing.
Yeah, and he was like, I think I'm going to go see Steamboat. I'm like, oh, don't do that. And he said, no, well, you don't want me to? I thought you would want me to. So you're like, no, don't. And he went and saw it and said it was like the worst thing he'd ever seen. But that, and he's like, he's like, you really have to see it because it's so. I'm like, no, I don't. I don't need to see. Oh, Screamboat is what it's called. So at least I'll give them that credit. That's clever.
You're gonna give them that credit?
Screamboat. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Oh boy, yeah. Wasn't there like there's a couple more out? Like what's the Winnie the Pooh one?
Yeah, Blood and Honey.
Jesus.
See, it's like this. Like we want to know more about it, but everything we learn about these, we just get angry and sad.
It's just because it's public domain that we can make, and horror is like the cheapest, easiest thing to make.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, see those folks, or listen to The Devil and Daniel Webster.
Yeah, I'd rather you do that. Right?
Yeah, do that. But yeah, no, I'm excited because I think now we have laid a good foundation for The Devil and stories to come.
Yeah, definitely.
Like all of these other, we're going to be comparing it to this one, I think, more so than Devil and Tom Walker.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
So next week we'll watch William Dieterle's The Devil and Daniel Webster.
Right.
Which
also known as All That Money Can Buy.
All That Money Can Buy, right? They had to change it because there was a rom-com at the same time called The Devil and Miss Jones. So they changed it to All That Money Can Buy. And then again, there's that porno version of The Devil in Miss Jones later that I guess we are not going to watch. But you can do it at home.
I'm not making any promises. Yay or nay.
Yay or nay.
Let's get a jury and a judge, and we'll present our cases, and yeah.
Yeah, but I'm looking forward to looking at that because there is a particularly good performance by Walter Houston as Mr. Scratch.
Yeah.
And Edward Arnold, who's one of the great unsung actors in the 1930s, is Daniel Webster. And it's also directed, this Devil and Daniel Webster, by William Dieterle, who we saw in Murnau's Faust playing Valentine, the brother.
Valentine, yeah. That's some great incestuous Kevin Bacon-y stuff.
Right, incestuous Kevin Bacon. All right,
Yeah,
great.
there we go. Right. But no, and yeah, folks, this is a movie, but it's not a bonus. This is going to be part of the regular feed because Keenan's really nice and he wants you to see this.
Well, this is homework.
For free.
I think. Yeah, it's homework, yeah.
So we're gonna watch it and we're gonna talk about it. And then we'll see what comes next.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But, folks, this has been another episode of The Devil's Details. I've been Lester Ryan Clark. You can summon me on all the socials as Lester Ryan Clark.
And I've been Keenan Diaz, and you can invoke me on Letterboxd and Instagram as Howdy Keenan.
Yeah, find more of our shows and other really cool podcasts at truestory.fm, or you can drop us a message at Banana for Scale Mail, that's MAIL, at gmail.com. We also got our Facebook listener group, Banana for Scale. That's a community for all of our shows, including this one. It's a private group, but just request to join and we'll let you into the Infernal family. You can be one of the jury of the damned. We got slots open. Come on in. If you want more, consider joining us at truestory.fm/join and look for Banana for Scale. That's us. You get bonus episodes of all of our shows, access to our Discord, and you get your episodes a week early. Pretty cool. Just $5. Wouldst thou like to live deliciously? We're not even asking for your souls. Just give us a 5 pentagram rating on iTunes or Spotify or wherever you listen to our show. That and sharing the show by word of mouth or on social media helps our little podcast grow and find more cool people like you. All right, folks, until next week, love and hisses. Mwah!